Hey guys, welcome back to Creators of the Lost Art. I'm Mandy, and I got my buddy Franklin here helping me out. Franklin?
Hi.
Okay, and we started this channel with two ideas in mind. One, just to show all the things we are starting in our small homestead hobby farm. It's been an interest of ours for a very long time, but we're just now at the very beginning stages of building and putting all of this together. We've done a lot of research. We've reached out to friends of ours that have already started their gardens and their farms and just pulling from their knowledge. But we wanted to kind of capture what we do and how we make it our own. Ron is really incredible. I mean, the man is seriously like a bearded MacGyver. You give him a roll of duct tape, a stick of gum, and a Q-tip, and he can build and repair anything. So he has this amazing imagination. So we just thought it would be really fun to show all that we can do. The other reason, though, we really wanted to start this channel was to tell our own personal family story, or more specifically, Franklin's story and his battle with childhood cancer. So on Fridays, we are going to focus on Franklin. And for this video, I thought we would go back to our very first Christmas after he was diagnosed. Ron mentioned in our intro video that in September of 2016, Franklin was diagnosed with a stage 4 brainstem tumor. And I cannot stress enough how it came out of nowhere. He was 3 years old. He was very active, very healthy, very lively little boy. And towards the end of August, he just started kind of blinking off when he would blink. And Franklin has always been our silly guy, so we weren't really worried about it. But we took him to the doctor, and she just said it was an eye tick and that he would grow out of it. Well, the following week, he started falling a lot. He would trip. He couldn't even walk down the stairs anymore. So by the end of the week, we took him in to have a CT done, and that's where they found it. Brainstem tumor. And our lives completely changed as of that day. We met with Dr. B up at Arkansas Children's, and they are incredible up there. And I'm one of those people that I want to pray and believe in the best, but I also have to know what I'm potentially facing. And I asked Dr. B, what is the logistics of this tumor? What are we looking at? And he just said, this is a very rare placement for this type of tumor. He had only had 2 other cases that he'd ever seen in children, and both of those children passed away within 6 to 8 months because the life expectancy for this tumor is 12 months. And we were told that right from the very beginning. And when Dr. B met with the neuro team, they would be the ones that would actually remove the tumor. The neurosurgeon wanted to send Franklin home on hospice. They said, the tumor's too big, it's way too massive, and there's no way it will ever shrink enough that we can surgically remove it. Another fun fact about brainstem tumors is for some reason, treatment doesn't penetrate that part of the brain well. They just don't respond well to radiation and chemo. Well, at the time, Dr. B was like, well, what do we have to lose? Let's try. Let's just try to treat him. So we immediately started radiation. And radiation, he had 30 doses of radiation. That was Monday through Friday for 4 weeks straight. And how that looked was that he would go into the radiation center. He would be sedated for each one of those. They would put him on the table. They would put the mask on, and we're going to try it on, see if it still fits. Oh, goodness. Not quite. All right. They would have to bolt. It doesn't fit anymore.
No, I'm too big.
You are too big.
No, when I'm 3 years old.
When you were 3?
It didn't mean I was 3 years old.
Yeah, when you were 3, it did fit. So they would bolt it to the table, and that's where when he got his radiation treatment.
Wait, it almost fit, I guess.
It almost fits. Here, let's put it back down.
Mama.
Wait 1 sec.
I think you have to throw that in the trash. It don't fit.
It don't fit no more.
No.
one thing.
I had to go to big one.
Okay. Radiation is as bad as you can imagine. It was horrific. He, of course, lost all of his hair. And what's crazy is we had expected that. We had actually already buzzed his hair really short in preparation for that. But on that first week, I went to get him out of his bed, and his pillowcase was just, layered with all these little sprigs of hair that were left. And I think that was the day that it just hit me that my son is really, really sick. And what's worse is the medicine that he's having to take, that's what's doing this to him. And it was so hard. It was so hard to see. Along with that, the back of his head and all the way down his spine, his skin was bright red. It was like the worst sunburn you could imagine. He could hardly even stand to have clothes touching his body. His fingernails started peeling off, and he lost a tremendous amount of weight. I mean, he was already a little guy, but he just couldn't hold anything down. At the time, he had a feeding tube. You want to show him your belly? Let's show him. Show him how you got 2 belly buttons. Right there. Woohoo! He had his feeding tube placed in. We did his feedings at night when he was still, but even then, he just could not hold anything down. He was so sick. And there was one time he had to go to the bathroom, so I carried him in there, and I stood him up so I could get his clothes down and everything. And as he was standing there, his little legs just shook because he didn't even have the strength to stand. And you have to remember, 2 months earlier, just 2 months earlier, I couldn't even keep up with them because he was so fast and so strong. How quickly all of that changed. So he finished radiation. We were so thankful it was over. Well, we had the MRI to see the results. And lo and behold, the glory of God, it had shrunk by 1/3, the tumor. The doctors, the staff, everyone was just amazed, couldn't believe the results he had. And once again, neuro came in and looked at it. They were impressed that it had shrunk at all. But once again, they said, for us to even consider, it needs to shrink by another 1/3. So, beginning of December 2016, we began pre-chemo testing. Dr. B said, look, we're gonna have to hit this thing hard with IV chemo. We need it to shrink, and we need it to shrink fast. It's a very aggressive tumor. So it's gonna be harsh. In this full day, he had his heart checked, liver, kidneys, blood work, ears, everything checked as a sort of baseline to see where he was starting from. Because at any point during chemo, if any of these other organs started to be negatively affected by the chemo, they would have to either reduce the chemo or altogether end the treatment completely, which at this point, this was our last hope. And I remember this day so vividly because he had just finished radiation. He was finally feeling just a little bit better. And we spent the entire day at the doctor, seeing all these different doctors and physicians, getting all these tests done. And Franklin was just so happy. He was putting minion stickers on everybody, on himself. He was laughing and playing, won everyone's heart because he stayed positive through all of this. He's always been just our little sunshine for this. And we're so thankful. And I will say that with the cancer treatment, outside of his ears, losing hearing, no other part of his body was ever affected by chemo. And again, we just have to thank God for that. So that's going to be my little recap for now for this video. I hope you will continue to follow us, to follow Franklin's story. There are so many miracles that God has done, and that's why we want to take this opportunity just to talk about how good God is. In our situation, it wasn't an instant miracle. I know God is able, He's willing to do that. But for us, it was just the presence of God in the daily storm. Everything we went through, He was always there and constantly working miracle after miracle, but staying with us. And I just want to encourage anybody, if you have a prayer request, please put it in the comments below. We love to reach out to people that are just in the middle of a storm. We know firsthand the power of prayer, and we want to be praying with y'all. We want to partner with y'all in prayer. We want to reach out. How can we bless y'all? Thank y'all for listening today. Stay shiny. Like that.
You know what?
Then the doctors gave you your medicine. See? Remember that? That was a long time ago.
How old I was?
You were 3.
I was little.
You were very little.
Like with hair.
Nope, no hair. When you were bald.
Like daddy.
Like daddy.